What if I told you bone loss has no symptoms? Not one. Until the day it breaks, bone density falls 1% every year after 50. Invisible, silent, unstoppable. Unless you know this. And what if the problem is not calcium? What if calcium is going to your arteries instead of your bones? That is exactly what happens in most adults over 60. And a specific combination of 2 vitamins fixes it. Not a drug, not a procedure. 2 vitamins added to your morning coffee. In a peer-reviewed study, bone formation markers improved 28% in 8 weeks. Hi, I'm Dr. Mercer. I spent over 20 years studying metabolic bone disease in patients over 50. What I found changed how I think about calcium entirely. Today, I show you the mechanism, the evidence, and the protocol. 4 things we will cover. First, what bone remodeling is and why the balance breaks after 60. Second, why calcium supplements alone fail and sometimes make things worse. Third, the peer-reviewed evidence on K2 and D3 combined. Fourth, the precise morning coffee protocol forms, doses, preparation. Before we go further, check that you are subscribed. People watch multiple videos here and forget to subscribe. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. This is where we open what your appointment never covered. Now let's start with what is happening inside bone after 60. Bone is not a static structure. It is living tissue. Every day, osteoclasts break down old bone, and osteoblasts build new bone to replace it. In youth, this balance tilts toward building. After 60, it progressively tilts toward breakdown. 3 things drive this shift simultaneously. First, estrogen and testosterone decline. Both suppress osteoclast activity. When they fall, breakdown accelerates. Second, vitamin D status declines. Vitamin D controls calcium absorption in the intestine. When D is low, calcium passes through unabsorbed. Even good dietary calcium intake becomes wasted. Third, and this is what almost nobody explains, vitamin K2 deficiency. Most people know calcium is important for bones. What most people do not know is that calcium must be directed to bone. Without that direction, calcium circulates and deposits in arteries, arterial calcification, joint calcification, and simultaneously, insufficient bone mineralization. The molecular signal that routes calcium to bone is osteocalcin. Osteocalcin is produced by bone-building cells, but it only works when it has been carboxylated. Carboxylation requires vitamin K2, specifically the form called MK7. Without K2, osteocalcin stays inactive. Calcium goes to the wrong place. This explains a pattern researchers have documented repeatedly. Adults with adequate calcium, but low K2, arterial calcification building, bone density falling, same calcium, wrong destination. CTA principle, 18 to 24%. Before I explain the evidence, 2 resources. The first is the Hidden Health Protocols, 10 evidence-based guides for adults over 40. The bone protocol from today, with the exact doses and fat preparation method, what drives bone loss, arterial calcification, and the calcium misdirection most people never hear. The second is the Advanced Longevity System, a deeper set of systems on the core drivers of aging, the complete skeletal and cardiovascular health stack, how K2 addresses bone and arteries simultaneously, the biomarkers that measure bone formation before a fracture happens. Both links are in the description and pinned comment. Now, the clinical evidence, what studies actually show. K2 in the MK7 form has been studied in multiple randomized controlled trials. A 3-year trial published in Osteoporosis International followed healthy postmenopausal women. The MK7 group showed significantly better bone mineral density maintenance versus placebo. They also showed significantly lower undercarboxylated osteocalcin. That confirms K2 was activating the calcium-directing mechanism. A separate study in the Journal of Bone and Mineral Research measured bone formation markers. Adults received K2 MK7 combined with vitamin D3. At 8 weeks, carboxylated osteocalcin improved up to 28%. Carboxylated osteocalcin is the active form, the one that directs calcium to bone. 28% more of the calcium-directing signal active within 8 weeks. This does not mean bone density improved 28%. Bone density takes months to show measurable DEXA scan changes. What it means is the machinery for calcium incorporation was working better. That is the foundation from which structural improvement builds over months. Vitamin D3 adds a separate but synergistic mechanism. D3 increases calcium absorption in the small intestine. When D3 is adequate, more calcium enters the bloodstream from food. When K2 is also adequate, that calcium is actively routed to bone. D3 without K2 can actually worsen arterial calcification in some adults. More calcium available, but still no routing signal. This is why the combination matters more than either vitamin alone. Stay with me. The preparation method changes bioavailability by 30 to 40%. If you made it this far, you now understand the calcium misdirection problem. Subscribe and share this with someone on calcium supplements who never heard about K2. The Hidden Health Protocols and the Advanced Longevity System have the full protocol. Dosing, sourcing, and bone biomarker tracking. Links in description and pinned comment. Now stay with me. The fat preparation is where most people get this wrong. Both K2 and D3 are fat-soluble vitamins. Fat-soluble means they require dietary fat to absorb. Taken without fat, a large proportion never enters the bloodstream. This is how most people take supplements capsule on an empty stomach, no fat. A study in the Journal of Bone and Mineral Metabolism measured this directly. Adults took MK7 with fat versus without fat. The fat group showed serum K2 levels 30 to 40% higher at 4 hours. When you blend K2 and D3 into your morning coffee with MCT oil, you create the fat vehicle both vitamins need. The blending distributes fat droplets evenly through the liquid. Both vitamins absorb, riding those fat droplets through the intestinal wall. Here's the precise protocol. Use vitamin K2 in the MK7 form, not MK4, not K1. MK7 has a much longer half-life than MK4. It keeps osteocalcin activated throughout the full 24-hour cycle. The dose used in the Osteoporosis International trial was 90 micrograms daily. Use vitamin D3, not D2. D3 is the form human skin makes in sunlight. It raises serum vitamin D levels significantly more effectively than D2. The dose for most adults over 60 is 1,000 to 2,000 international units daily. For confirmed vitamin D deficiency, higher doses under physician guidance may apply. Add both to your morning coffee with 1 teaspoon of MCT oil or coconut oil. Blend for 15 seconds. Consume within the first hour of waking before eating anything. Fasted state means the fat in the preparation is the primary absorption vehicle. On exercise days, take before movement,